Welcome, everybody. What a nice gathering of people from all over the country. Our Australian participant is not here tonight, sadly. I'd like to welcome our two readers, Ruby Hansen Murray and Dayle Olson. Welcome, and thank you so much for reading for us. Ruby's going to start. Ruby Hansen Murray is an award-winning columnist for the Osage News, winner of the Iowa Review and Montana Prizes, and a McDowell, Ragdale, and Hedgebrook Fellow. She has been nominated for Pushcart Prizes and Best of the Net. Find her work in Cascadia, A Field Guide, Tupelo Press, Ecotone, Allotment Stories, University of Minnesota Press, Rivermouth Review, Under the Sun, the Massachusetts Review, Pleiades, High Desert Journal, Moss, The Rumpus, and Shades of Native Nonfiction. She is a citizen of the Osage and Cherokee Nations with West Indian roots, living in the lower Columbia River Estuary. Welcome.
Thank you. Thank you so much. I'm happy to be here. And I want to start with Osage and say Hawe Dahe Bashe, Ruby Jaje Abria, Huda Metsehi Wajaje Jaje Abria, Puget Island Oli, and Mojan Chinook Nikashi Oli. So I'm travel back and forth between northeastern Oklahoma, where the Osage and Cherokee nations are, and that has begun to weave into my poetry. And so I will read a poem with some Osage in it. I've been studying for the last like 20 years, but studying harder lately, and have written some poems in Osage, which I won't read for you, but I'm excited about that. And I'm really interested in place and in America, what we do, how we interpret America wherever we are. So we live in this small, for us, it's a small community, and of course, along the river and the Columbia River. And so it's just a thrill to read with Dayle, who lives across the Kathlamet Channel from us, and to be with other folks who live here on the island with us, and to be with people who know this particular landscape so intimately. So that's what I've chosen some of the poems I'm reading tonight with that in mind. And I'm from a military family, so I came to this area a long time ago, and it's a multi-generational community, and it was mostly commercial fishing and logging when I came. So I'm interested in those changes of rural life and suburban, and again, this thing about what we bring with us when we create community. So I'm just happy to be here, and I know that I just feel. I mean, I get a little anxious reading, but I'm very trusting of poets because I know we're a wonderful, warm group. So um, let me start with On Puget Island. You who are neither fish nor fowl, neither fisher nor farmer, neither a retiree seeking bucolic spaces, nor a home girl, generations in place walk to the riverbank. In the house where Madeline lived 20 years ago, a couple eats dinner. The man in a white undershirt faces the window. His wife stands beside him, and a dark buffet. Spiders like stars between the boom and cab of an abandoned crane, the yellow paint gone ochre and rust. A frilly lampshade in the dairyman's house, an osprey on the nav light, the curving eave of a guest house. At Emmerich's, the cattle ranchers shape a barn by Temple Grandin, work cattle on horseback. Two bright yellow Adirondack chairs on a deck beside the slough. Geese fly over, plaintive. You're here, you're here, you're here. And as Dale and I, thank you all. As Dale and I were saying, these days the smelts are in the river and they're eagles, and sea lions are not rafting like they do in summer with their fins up. But right now they're in these raucous parties. And so this next poem acknowledges another aspect of river life. It's rivermen. The Petersons in their work clothes, Carhartts with suspenders, boots, Eric's orange hoodie pulled up, the new bride curled into a sweatshirt, her eyes raw, pinked by the wind. The father's hair glints silver. He's watched the dredge all day. He came to get the grandsons, red-haired George, Art, newly tall, exquisitely still in the front seat, while workers push sand back and forth, spew gray from a sump half a mile upriver. In the sherbet evening, family stretches out in folding chairs, two sons and wives, grandmother between. Operators inside yellow cats turn and back around the gushing river water, spurts of pumice. Moon rises full, parchment hanging above the channel, while light spark on miles of pipe. Um, and so we do, thank you. We do we do we watch the country carefully here. You know, we're paying attention. You see it in the Facebook pages with all of the pictures, beautiful pictures of our area. And so this is called Changes. The sun moves from north to south of east, swings around the notch in Nikolai. The pasture grows tussocks unattended, skunk cabbage some years, bullfrogs now and then. Tree frogs, pint size, hide in ferns, sit windowsills. One year the sweet clover grew 5 feet tall, its white vanilla beads. Warm air spun gnats on the curve of earthen berm. Red-winged blackbirds on cattails sang deer knee-deep in grass. Osprey-winged metronome of spring and fall. And we arrive at noon or 5, walk the road, the graveled path, fist-size rocks through the meadow, skirt fawns and fields of geese. And I've been thinking, David, thanks. My husband remembers great, huge flocks of geese when he was a young man. So, you know, many years ago. And I remember coming and seeing really huge, enormous rafts of coots on the river. So we watched those kind of big changes also. Or, I mean, subtle, they feel sort of inexorable change at this point, but in terms of wildlife. But we live with the magic of tides here. And someone was saying this is on Puget Island is 44 river miles from the ocean, up from Astoria, and we have tidal reach here. It's wonderful. It's exciting. So this is called Refuge. Low tide, where Elohim and Slough curves a final quarter-mile to the Columbia. We park and walk toward Hornstra Beach, a Dutch dairyman on the marshy, sopping wet ground. Chinook Wawa, name unknown to me. A young man with reddish beard, camera and tripod. Solitary meander on a holiday. The art of satisfaction. Water in the pooling shallows, sweeping curve of growing shoals, S of the waterway, one and another rivulet in dimpled sand, three-quarter moon on light blue. Yellow gold cottonwood, heart-shaped leaves of hybrids sprout from knots on each trunk. A ribbon of gold on the pavement where I found Reggie. DV and I walk the deep quiet, no wind, no one on the highway. Two young women on bicycles, daughters of the friends we watched marry, strong women finishing college. Alders pocked and hollow trunks, cambium exposed like ours, DV older, even as his energy is stronger than mine. Native blackberry starry hands redden, osier gone maroon, white heron on matted grass, puddles in the flat pan. Far across the field, patches of hide reflect light, the dark rough. With binos, it's a double date. The great bough of antlers glint white against fur. Um, living in a small town. Living in a small town, we're back and forth across the region to the ocean and into the gorge and to the city. So this is called Astoria. A bank of mud, low tide at Brook Slough, rectangle of sunflowers lost in a smoke gray sky. Crayfish pots, white bubble floats on glassy Gray's River. Biden signs at Echo Meadow, chipmunk tail jabbing heavenward. By the bridge, a plugged culvert sprouts a Japanese gardenscape. Vine maple grows from a rock, fluorescent reflecting pool. By Salme Hill, a Trump shrine, well-mossed GMC, a sodden teddy bear over the cab, American flags sprout on the fenders. And then this too is about the people who live here, devotion. For years in the women's restroom at Dismal Niche, a small bouquet of wildflowers, white honeyed verbena, stalks of grass, how small things stitch the fabric of our lives, trees turning color on the steep ridge behind. The worker saved a plastic bottle for a vase, held a golden poppy beside purple vetch, a language spoken, a secret shared. And I should say that Dismal Niche is where Lewis and Clark spent part of their winter down toward the ocean. Um, and it's a lovely spot, a beautiful spot at the mouth of the river. So this is Whitetail Deer Trail. A young man talks on the phone, white face, brown hair under a blue knit cap, the air still, neither warm nor cool. I tend to romanticize things, he says, something more civilized. He looks up as we pass, a slight smile. From the phone, a grizzled voice. There's no civilized these days. Back to the pooling calls of swans, green-winged teal flurry over the bank, too pretty to eat, a mud-colored duck in the fisherman's kitchen up Skamakaway Creek, candle on the table. Two men in camo sit in reeds. To call teal, I use a mallard call, honking squawk, close enough to give him something to listen to. The man is loud for the camera, for other men, teaching, slightly softened accent still authoritative. So and so has spent 30 years in these marshes. He's more specific. An older white haired man with four duck calls across his chest. He lifts a pipe, squeeze, squeeze, squeeze. Lots of old Cajuns use this for blue-winged teal. Then he peeps a green-winged teal, wings a blur overhead. Go on and get bagging teal, the first man says. I don't need to shoot any birds, pelicans on the few sprigs of grass between Burney Slough and the channel, but I would like to sit in a blind more over water than land. And I went to school, graduate school at IAIA, and had a wonderful time. And that's where I learned about the types of rain. Um, and I think of Manny Lowley and his poetry there. And this is called Grasping Balance. In the Northwest, female rain, thunder is rare, lightning a static flash, clouds unroll batting. Up Alger Creek, moss is dry in April, sandstone cracked open. Skunk cabbage curls yellow tongues, trillium under elk hooves, catkins, windblown pollen dusts our hands gold. Clouds of geese shrieking cries, the pasture squelches underfoot. And this is Davis Peak, which is near the foothills of St. Helens. You stand in your yard beside the road, smoothly paved, phone pedestals installed, houses knitting around you. You've lived these many years alone, fir forest wreathed in mist, the shed snug with cordwood, ridden your motorcycle on gravel roads along thickets of salmonberry, spires of foxglove. You harvested elderberries where clear-cut patches yield home sites, newly gated American flags. You long for the years it rained too much to live, lichen long like hair, when only bears came to visit, a cougar the only promise. Thank you all. I'll read just a few more poems, turn to Osage culture now. And 1 minute here. So this is called Okda, to cherish or to love. In school, I learned to say the Koran like I learned to say Osage. When I hear Quran, I understand I'm closer to truth. When I hear Huda, I know I'm closer to the mottled eagle sailing low over the ferry sliding across the slough, closer to the bowl of nest in a cottonwood, a white-headed parent above. Looks like a talon. Huda, the sound of an eagle rising. I'm Huda chasing an osprey. Huda, curled beak tearing fish. I'm salmon in translucent green. When Bill says Moncasa doa shkonchta, and I understand, ablaze. In his 80s, Mowgli murmurs Wajaji Iya, says, you can't think of it like English. There's a different concept in Osage. When he says, you all are doing real good, he holds the broken in me. Another poem then is Don't Say Endangered. A listed species is a dire course, seldom recovered. We say going, almost gone, extend categories, shave meaning, look at finer and finer shades of gray. Our Osage language has issues. We worry about it going to sleep. Gray mists the island today, not the usual fog clouds rolling up and down river. This covers, wants to erase us all. And then my last poem is what we see from this side of the channel. And so this is for Dale and other folks from Cathlamet. And this was published by Swim, um, supporting women writers in Miami, and they have a wonderful residency at the Betsy Hotel, and it's a lovely place if people are interested in that. So, my body fleeting. We watched white flecks, birds far up against the ridge, bright against blue-green, a trick of evening. Walked to see them, earthbound, slow, DV creaky, and me ready to spring forward, these legs strong, but it's arms we need, wings. How we'll fly, long necks extend, then fold, so few wing beats, thermals hold us up. Great egrets making a way north. We say they're going to a new country. 7 birds in cottonwood tops above cut-off slough, nesting for the first time so far north, twisting toward each other as we fall. Chopa Doa Ekipche Combra. I just wanted to read that much. Thank you all so much.
Thank you so much, Ruby. That was delightful. And I loved hearing the Osage words, even though they were indistinguishable for me, they gave an essence of the language that you were imbuing to us. And what lovely evocative imagery you use. So many wonderful words. Thank you so much.
Thank you for having me. I really appreciate it.
I'd like to welcome another Dayle, even though she spells her name incorrectly. And Dayle Olson's poetry appears in the Salah Review, Rain Magazine, Thin Veil Press, and other poems, Timber Ghost Press, and North Coast Squid. Lower Columbia College has invited her to be the Northwest Voices Writer in Residence, April 2024. Congratulations. Culminating with a poetry reading at Longview Public Library, April 18th. Shall we all try to join you there? That would be
I
fun.
would love that.
That would be so much fun. She hosts a quarterly poetry open mic, leads zine making workshops, and visits area high schools to talk with students about why poetry matters. I need to learn that myself. Welcome, Dayle.
Oh, thank you so much, Dale. This is really a delight to be here. And thank you to the Head for the Hills poetry community for having me tonight. I'm delighted to be here, and I thank Dale Champlin for organizing and hosting this gathering, because we can't do much of this. So, and I have to say, I adored every poem that Ruby just read. And she's not only a dear friend, but she's an inspiration to my own poetry. And I treasure the times when she and I are able to get together over a pot of tea and write poetry together. She's been a wonderful writing partner since I came to this community 5 years ago. So I'm a newcomer to the lower Columbia River, but I feel that it's my true home, and I intend to live here the rest of my days. So the poems I've selected tonight are a mix of observation about the really beautiful area that we live in on the lower Columbia River. And then I'm also interspersing those poems with some poetry that I've been writing, looking back to memories from my youth. So some of those poems might give away my age, but I'm not going to tell you what year I was born because it's not required. So I'll start with Calling Card from a Chickadee for Clara. There are glorious sights above and below, luminous clouds and bare limbs swelling with buds. Winter made a show of baring its teeth and sent us scurrying into dens to burrow between the flannel. But here we are, emerging into soft air, startled from a long sleep. Even the weeds are reviving. If I were a gardener, I would be wading through seed catalogs and sharpening pruning shears and planning when to spread mulch. Instead, I am holding a tiny feather, maybe an inch long, with a slender, delicate shaft, dark woodsy hues, cinnamon, admiring the perfection of its design and thinking this is a good day for a child to be born. December river traffic. We barrel down the highway to see the biggest ship to ever ply the Columbia. Neighbors are snug at their kitchen tables. They're drinking tea, but not us. We are shivering on a riverbank in Skamakaway, sand in our shoes, gritty and cold, the octopus ink sky pregnant with fiery jewels, and the quarter moon spilling quicksilver over rocks, sliding ashore on each gleaming wave. Our hands are jammed deep in our pockets, icy air biting our lips. Wordlessly, we wait, the night thick with frog song and magic. We squint upriver at the dark outline of Puget Island and a green light marking the channel. A faint hum quivers the water as a growing shadow swallows the landscape. Powerful engines drive a mass shape oceanward, her bow wake radiant with moonlight. She is a steel behemoth, lit by Orion's belt and a shooting star. The beaded curtain. Everything about Grandma Verna was exotic. Her shocking tube tops, dangly earrings, her low, throaty laugh, the beaded curtain gliding on a track. Closed, it became a mysterious portal. Sometimes she let us pass through. Slowly, the smooth wooden beads rolling over our arms, brushing our faces, chattering against our legs. When she told us about her belly button stone, we asked to see it. Never heard of such a thing. Her dressing room was through the curtained archway. She disappeared into her domain of ostrich feather hats and high-heeled shoes, pulling the curtain closed behind her. We sprawled in front of the hearth amid empty Hershey's Kiss wrappers, waiting for the floor show. A goddess materialized behind the rustling beads, her bare brown arms reaching forward, hands pressed palm to palm, Esther Williams style, as if she were about to dive into a pool. The curtain parted dramatically, the ruby red jewel in her navel glowing like an ember. I only have one photograph of that room. Near the archway sits Grandma Verna's mother, an aging member of the Order of the Eastern Star, wearing costume jewelry and disapproval, afraid the beads might touch her. Thank you. Scrub day in January. Precarious is your living in sun miserly and fickle. My wings are not flashy, nor do I have a cold winter berry balanced on my tongue. Yet crumbs and scraps, cloaked among last season's decaying glory, satisfy just as well. On a branch stripped bare, your plumage outblues the hard sky. None escapes your cunning eye, resigned to constant observation. Cleverness informing every flight. No thought of bees or balmy days, just sunflower seeds and suet. To be dauntless when light is scarce, to forage and store fat, that is what's needed to build a nest. Thanks. Suddenly aloft, an eagle fastens me to earth, or possibly a swift, as dazzling rings uphold the sky with damselfly and tiger moth. Ospreys call their dusky cry from grass soft lichen nests, anchoring the evening tides with lullabies for shadowed fish. Something in me yearns to soar, no more affixed to ground. Set my reflection flying high above the rindled river land. Saliferous the air floats blue, past conifers I glide, and how I dance above the marsh on wings unfolded wide. Allowance. We are playing checkers on a wet picnic table, ushered outdoors by tall people who share our last name. Our fingers are caked with orange Cheeto dust as we plot and jump, collecting the plastic spoils of war. She wins, but I don't care. We stand, shorts down, from the garage, and clip playing cards to the spokes. We coast downhill as cars, the fake motors roaring in our ears, each of us carrying 50 cents to blow at Dairy Queen. There are a couple of poems in here about my life here with my husband, David, who's the mayor of Cathlamet. And we're newlyweds. We've just been married a few years. We came here and started a life together. So anyway, this is called As Complicated as Anyone. I am juggling 6 blueberries before the sun can warm the hill. I am the sagging hulk of a circus elephant, erecting and dismantling the same tent every day. I am the panhandler beneath a leaky tarp and the spotted dog beside him. I am marching to John Philip Sousa around the marriage bed with cymbals, while my spouse warms up on trombone. I am meat simmering in a pot, waiting for the onions and carrots. I am on the side of the fence that covets calm over scuttlebutt, the side that allows wild things to flourish and go to seed. I am the spent tube of carmine red lipstick rolling down Broadway to the river. Thank you. Faulty notions about horticulture. The chipped plates belong to both of us. The hole in your sock blooms first at the toe, mine at the heel. The habits, once scratchy, weave warm pockets for our hands. We are too old to unravel the mystery. And why would we want to pull the string? Instead, you buy a terracotta pot, then someone gives you a plant. Despite our earnest watering, the tomato languishes. We eat the pulp yield on a bed of lettuce, remarking on the shorter days and the cost of potting soil, knowing almost nothing about gardening. Good year. The sky was heat-fueled white, blue evaporating on the horizon. The car melted from the inside out. Our bare legs stuck to the seat. It pulled under our skin when we slid on the corners. Aunt Peggy nursed a cigarette. Leathery lips faded scarlet, while balls and strikes were called on the radio. We cranked the windows to let the updraft lift our hair, stringy and lank. Stained popsicle sticks littered the mat. We didn't care that we were sweaty or that boys barely older than ourselves died in faraway jungles. In the shadow of that blimp, we shivered and disappeared. Seatmate. What I'm struck by is how lucky I am to be waiting for a Shakespeare play to begin. Is how the woman sitting next to me in a dark theater, a stranger, tells me her life has been too quirky to stitch together into a book. For instance, she rescued sea lions and harbor seals in Marin County and smelled bad for 4 years. She tells me a sea lion will poop if you hose them with cold water, and a harbor seal will bite if your fingers get too close. That's what you do for love. You allow yourself to be covered in the stuff, to stink. She played Beethoven on a boombox for corralled pinnipeds and watched them move in unison to the music. Her toenails are painted shiny black. She is 84 and wears a hearing aid. She has heard Placido Domingo sing at San Francisco Opera. All I can think is, I would read your book. Thank you. Days of a hungry season. Somewhere on a highway, a red-tailed hawk in the early days of a hungry season lands on a broken center line. I'm a thick-furred thing sprawling, lifeless on cold pavement. It tears open the soft belly, where undigested grain mixes with blood. Are you the same red tail I watched fledge years ago, flapping awkwardly from tree to power pole, following your capable parents into the sky, chasing the rodent they dropped from 100 feet for you to retrieve? Am I the same woman I was then, accepting free loaves of bread, restless beneath a faded comforter at 3 a.m, thinking of unpaid bills instead of sheep, wondering, will I ever stop wanting to hold another, to kiss someone for no reason? My parents taught me what they could as much as they thought I needed to know. When hunger rules, sometimes crouching on the broken center line is the only option. Spring freshet. When the freshet came, everything floated out the front door, headed north, toward town. We watched from a ladder as our wooden bowls lined up like ducklings behind a soup pot and sailed away. The current swirled around Father's bentwood rocker, coaxing it to join the spindleback chairs in the yard. Two barn cats in a crate bobbed below, yowling as a surge of water pushed them over the threshold and out of sight. It took all three of us to hold Mother from going down after her sewing box. She trembled in her wet, muddy skirt, shouting oaths at all of us. Each waterlogged thing carried away was something precious. But the worst for us children was the tin of sugar, as it took with it every last promise of sweetness. The Wanderers. Some days the cat from downhill, the one who evades ownership, comes to the door, composed and self-possessed, for a meal. Another cat used to come, a skinny one with bad teeth. He outsmarted us when we tried to lure him into a cage with tuna and baby talk, slinking with indifference on his way to oblivion. Abandoned things are afraid of home, especially when it sounds like spoons rattling in a drawer. Our cat watches from the window, casting hexes. Her spell turns the next one into a raccoon. Thank you. I have three more. Do I have time for those, Dale? Okay. Kitchen. Baking is a bit like magic. Do you ever wonder who unlocked the puzzle laying undiscovered in butter, sugar, vanilla, and eggs? Here God resides in batter. If you wish to argue this fact, please have a slice of my blueberry cake first. Or do what I do, lick the bowl and ignore the warnings about consuming raw flour, obviously written by Puritans in the 17th century. The good women in my life all have a signature cake: lemon cake, Queen of Sheba cake, oatmeal cake, yellow cake, cheesecake, allowed because it's called cake. Everyone should bake a cake once, just to know what heaven smells like before you get there. Westbound Highway 30. Impatient drivers stack up in the rearview mirror, even though I'm over the limit. The thing I like best about Highway 30 to Astoria are those places where a passing lane appears and everyone hurtles by. The passing lane after Wana on the climb up Mount Nikolai cuts through deep shadows of forest and damp rock walls, reminders of how easily things slide. What I like second best is saying the names at each bridge: Plimpton Creek, Nat Creek, Big Creek, Ferris Creek, Bear Creek, Mary's Creek, John Day River. I wonder if Ferris and Mary sometimes meet secretly in the woods before arriving at their destination. Maybe they get together during the heavy rains, concealed by thick moss and fallen trees. After the Eagle Sanctuary sign at Burnside Loop, the highway dips and weaves to reveal shifting sandy islands where white pelicans sunbathe and stretch. Even were I to drive something sleek and impetuous, why would I want to go? And this is my last poem of the evening. I'm going to close with Tokeland in March. And if you've not been to Tokeland, I hope this inspires you to find it in Pacific County and to go explore it yourself. It's a lovely, quiet little place in the world. Tokeland in March. When you get right down to it, it's all beautiful. The crow flapping past on ragged wings, the half-fallen fruit tree, the clouds gunmetal gray and titanium white, the exposed marshland made naked by an overfilled moon, the delicate window insect, the flute of a red-winged blackbird, the weathered of the window frame where the Willapa wind has eaten the paint, the eagle sailing over glistening mud, the bird box where lawn meets sedge, waiting for swallows to return, the rhododendron folded tight, bracing for more winter, a hawk, maybe a northern harrier, patrolling the brown, salty grass. I'm sure I've forgotten something. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Dale. That was delightful.
Oh, thank you. Thank you so much for giving me an opportunity to share some of my poems.
Well, I love your sense of humor. And I've got to work on my olive oil cake because I don't have it right yet. it they tell you to put in cornmeal and I don't think that's right. So I'm not going to put in that cornmeal. And
Well,
thank you.
practice makes perfect.
I'll try. I'll try it without the cornmeal. Hi, everybody, and welcome. It's time for our open mic. And Norma, you got here just in time. I think you've been busy. Oh, and Stan's here too. I don't remember you guys coming. And I hope friends of Ruby and Dale will also regale us with some of their poetry, because I know you're all poets. I think you are all poets. So please chip in. And there's a little hand down here under reactions, and it's a raised hand. If you put your click on that raised hand, I'll see that you want to read. Otherwise, I'll ask you anyway. And you'll be totally embarrassed. So Sue was the first one. Hi, Sue Lick. She was the first one to raise her hand, so she'll go first.
Hi, everybody. Been a day, but I made it. And part of this relates very much to what Dale was reading about cake. So wait for it. This is modeled after a poem by Billy Collins called Questions About Angels. It's called Some Things I'd Like to Know About Heaven Before I Commit to Living There. Where is heaven anyway? We all look up, we talk about Jesus and Mary zooming straight up through the fluffy clouds, but spaceships and satellites have discovered only planets, moons, and stars. Never ever a welcome to heaven sign. Will I have a house, a room, a bed, or a cloud to sleep on? And will I finally be able to snooze 8 full hours and not wake up to NPR's news at 4 a.m.? Can I take naps? Will the angels serve coffee or be busy singing all the time? If I leave my body on earth, how will I dance in heaven? Will I wear robes or be naked, a gelatinous bubble like a jellyfish? Can I be a bird instead, with bright red and yellow feathers? Wait, will there be any trees? Where will I build my heavenly nest? Will there be dogs in heaven? God knows I want to roll in a soft circle of canines, all tongues and wet noses, velvety fur and hot breath. I want to run with the Labradors, tongues out, teeth shining, legs barely touching dirt. But wait, is there soil in heaven? Or will we float around, never putting our feet down, if we have feet? Where will we grow our roses? Lord, I don't know if heaven is the place for me. Now, don't get me wrong. Hell was never on my bucket list. What do people do in heaven? Is there Wi-Fi, email, video? Yes, I know we'll hang with God, sing his praises evermore. I know this questioning is blasphemous. It's just that I've been burned before. Remember the place that had no heat and meth heads living across the street? Maybe just some hints, okay? Like, where is heaven anyway? Can I find it on my GPS? Google up heaven's URL. I'll get there when the time is right. Is that rumbling thunder meant for me? Okay, I'll let it alone tonight. Just one more thing. Will there be cake? Thank you.
Lovely. I hope so. I think heaven's right here anyway, so there's plenty of cake. Billy, would you like to read?
I've got two that are pretty short here. These are actually a couple of more recent ones from my writing group. This one I called Love Song. A love song for the month of February. Hearts and flowers, beauty springing from the depths of winter, showing love and hope for a brighter day. Flower petals guiding the way. Love reborn from a dying grace, blooming in haste for the love we chase. Stop and admire the flowers. Let your heart rebloom with love for yourself and for others. And the second one I called a blank page. Life is a blank page. Love is a blank page. We are born holy and whole, loved unconditionally, with every need taken care of, until that is no longer true. We slowly become a little more vocal, a little more mobile, and learn little by little how to express our desires. As we do, the volume of unconditional love is turned down. Our smiles turn into frowns each time we are told, calm down. We no longer feel the love we were freely given and learn it is something we have to earn. Our desires are crushed as we try to earn that love and walk in the path of another's desire. Maybe we turn into a rebel as our hormones start to moan. We become dizzy as we circle around the descent of those who wish to control. We forget the love we were born of as we get lost on the path of another and another and another. Parents, bosses, lovers, cheaters, healers, and religious leaders. If we are lucky, we break. We break the patterns of sameness that smothers our light. If we are lucky, we remember. We remember we were born to shine bright. We are the star in the night. We are the sun in the day. We remember we were born to.
Peter, would you like to read?
Sure, I'm always happy to read. Just wonderful, wonderful poems. I so wish I could come up there and see the Columbia River and Estuary and Puget Island, and maybe someday I will. So here's another one sort of about heaven. And I don't think I've read it to this group before. It's relatively new. But it's based on something that happened not that long ago, and I call it Visiting Dead Friends' Facebook Pages. Facebook reminds me today is Oral's birthday. That will always be true, even though he's no longer on Earth to celebrate with us. His smiling face shines from this page he created, preserved like parents do children's bedrooms full of dusty trophies, toys, and old posters stuck on walls. Happy birthday, Oral's brother writes. I miss you. I see similar prayers and wishes on Judy's site, though she's gone 18 years now, and Cousin Jim's, under that photo of him holding a 7-pound bass caught in Big Blue Lake. Perhaps cloud servers are the best places to leave messages for our departed. Weather wears away the hardest stone. Wind and rain swirl cards and flowers from grave to grave. Comments placed in clouds live closer to heaven than rocks piled on earthly gravestones. Do those Facebook comments comfort our beloved dead's souls? I know I'd rather remember them young, vital, as if their presence was still just a text or phone call away.
That's such a great sentiment.
Thanks. The amazing thing is, I really had a friend called Oral, and the first time I read this poem at an open mic, a man came up to me and said, I live in Oral's old house now. His
Oh,
son rented it to me after he passed. And I had no idea he would be there. He had no idea that poem would be read.
well, that's wonderful. Poetry. Yes. Vivian, would you like to read?
Yes, thank you so much, Dale. Thank you for hosting and such beautiful poems, Dale and Ruby. Thank you. I've enjoyed it so much. I have a poem called After GPS. Our shallow drawer is rarely jostled open. We lie undisturbed for months. Some of us have been here 30 years or more. We dream of when we were unfolded by eager fingers, spread flat, our lines and contours gently stroked for hours. Sometimes we were folded edge to edge, crease to crease, into a rectangle and slid into a sheer plastic folder or bunched together and stuffed sideways into a guidebook. We miss being slipped into side pockets of car doors or roll-on bags. We miss being opened and consulted several times a day. We dream of how we spread over laps, tables of teak or pine, picnic or iron mesh in cafes, how we billowed in the wind, grasped by a hand on each side. Some of us are torn, worn, ripped along our folds, but we still hold together once accordioned back into place. Now we lie quiet. Rarely do we feel sunshine or rain. How long will we still be here? Maybe until they die. Will some artist cut us up, insert us laminated into rings or pendants, use us as background for greeting cards, overlaid by images of birds and flowers? Thank you.
Lovely, Vivian. Thank you so much. And Marianne, it's so great to have you here. I just now saw that you wanted to get in. I'm glad you found the link.
Thank you. Yeah, Dale sent it to me. No worries. I appreciate it. Hi, everyone, and it's great to be here. Thanks for the really lovely readings tonight. It's been wonderful. I thought I would read a poem I wrote this summer that was also very centered in this river place that has come up a lot tonight. So this is called Blackberry Summer. I drove home from Portland in a hot blaze of parched suburbs, the landscape scorched and burning on both sides of my skin. Temperatures began to ease as I hurtled through forest, approaching the ocean. I settled my car, unchained my bike, and pedaled to the water's edge as the sun began its sweep toward the horizon. In only a few days' absence, the heat has worked its transformation. Where there were white enameled blossoms and bright green fists, now black jewels gleam here and there among the trailer canes. I pick one, letting the sweet tart burst against my tongue, knowing these summer days will fade just as quickly as the cormorant perched upon his sleek piling, letting all that is July blow through the surface of his outstretched wings, will slip beneath the creased surface of the river, leaving only a smear of juice across my fingers and the river unfolding, never revealing that moment where she fades into sea. Thank you.
Now I definitely have to come visit. I'm thoroughly convinced. And
It is a beautiful place. Thank you.
Stan, would you like to read?
Yes. This poem was inspired by a call from the dentist, reminding me of an upcoming appointment. It made me think of how my relationship with the dentist changed from childhood into adulthood. I don't think I was afraid of going to the dentist until I got older. But it's called A Second Childhood. My forgotten friend, the tooth fairy, visits right after one of my caps fell out. I place it carefully under the pillow tonight, and the next morning, a load of cash. My first wife remarries. Alimony finally gets put to rest. It's better than a golden ticket. Move over, Charlie Bucket. Publishers Clearinghouse calls. I've won the runner-up prize, a lifetime supply of peanut butter cups. How many more dreams like that could come true? My 2015 Chevy Compost was stolen. That model's been discontinued. 2 weeks later, an insurance check. It covers a brand new Ford Belch fire. The tooth fairy pays off bigly. Got something better than a golden ticket? Want a peanut butter cup? Just ask. When I'm driving around the hood, just belching fire. Now I'm set for life.
Okay, Stan, that was hilarious. Thank you. My dreams don't have so much wonderful prizes in them. Norma, I'd like to hear what you have to say.
What I would say?
Well, this is not a poem. This is a jottings. Okay.
It's a wish.
Okay.
That sounds like a Magritte painting. This is not a pipe.
Okay. Her growing gaggle of men. She's always been a big girl. The aging process of shrinking happens, but not down to where her high school friends are yet, and certainly taller than the older bent over men she's collecting. Yes, for an unknown reason, she is becoming the Mother Teresa to 4 elderly fellows and seemingly attracting others. One can't hear, another can't see, can't see, another for another hearing and sight. What is the for another hearing and sight is diminishing, and the other, her ex-husband and father of her 2 sons, is afraid of traffic, dentists, and older women. 2 are resisting their impending 80s, and 2 have been here longer than she. She is enjoying the company of men and her new sense of relevance. They learn quickly that they can depend on her. She's likely always to be there for them and can be counted to say yes. They don't know in the deep, dark recesses of her thoughts is the bright hope that they will in turn take care of her in her time of need. Humph. She knows that's foolish, but it's inspired by the thought. She is still a very good driver, they notice, and although none can resist telling her where to go and how she doesn't listen, Instead, she giggled. Now, I should have read this first. She giggles. Where am I? I'm aging here, fellows. They know in the deep, dark, they know in the deep, dark recesses of her thoughts is a bright hope that they will, in turn, take care of her in her time of need. Okay. She is still a very good driver. They notice, and although none can resist telling her where to go and how, she doesn't listen. Instead, she giggles, knowing they either can't hear or aren't paying attention. She is learning that men exert manhood in cars, and some pretend they can't hear so they don't have to answer questions. She lengthens the lives of her growing gaggle of men by taking them to the store, the pharmacy. One would die if he couldn't go to the Goodwill to collect stuff. So much stuff, they can hardly get to the refrigerator with his groceries. The trees in his backyard are headed for his back door. Thinking about cleaning his house makes her shudder. Her ex-husband recently became a resident of Babbling Brook Assisted Living. He needs her more than ever now to scare the dozens of older women he attracts. He evidently uses her as a shield because she gets disapproving glares when she is his lunch guest. She envies him because the food and care of Babbling Brook is luxurious. She dates her old high school buddy almost every weekend as if they were going steady. They attend nearby happy hours for soup, salad, and a weekend beer. He turns her TV up almost as high as it goes, and she plugs her ears so she won't hear the upstairs neighbor complain, knowing it will end after 3 or 4 programs. It's not a poem. Okay. Thank you.
Thank you, Norma.
Yes.
Oh my gosh. I feel like I was there. Paul, would you like to read?
Oh, sure. This is called It's Not All That Strategic, Gertrude Stein. Sticky from the new abstract, Gertrude Stein walks up walls. Upside down, she says, in case you didn't know, paragraphs hurt. In the monkey dark, only the air moves. Stein paraglides over a Marienbad trail to somewhere more Baroque. The Louisian rocks hold statues of Steins that go back to Eve. At lower elevations, perfect timing makes her invincible. I love how she jumps, flies in circles, lands in my hospital bed as I track her through transparent lids. Packed with anti-collateral estopels, she'd litigate forever if I let her. Then quantum flux steps in. By the time I get home, she's hopelessly in love with someone else. I take her upstairs to watch the sunset, then push her off the roof. She loves to fall through space and leave a wine-colored stain on the dust-white street. It's like a Helen Frankenthaler painting. Horses squeal, people point, and I fade like smoke. In one version, Stein meets God dressed as Adrian Ballou. She isn't ready for his wild chords, but he banishes the Ballous, which is all that counts. On a carnival cruise to the Oort cloud, God reincarnates Stein as the ship's AI. She thinks that someday she will grow a human soul. A passing alien writes in his purple notebook emotion container, "This shows how dangerous it is to build a thing that thinks it has no soul. It would have done this to us if we'd let it." Stein AI goes on to make inorganic molecules from her own corpse dust. She's building an army just in case. In the middle of counting bodies, Nimrod plays the well-tempered clavier. 17 years later, Gertrude has a stroke. That is a sufficient but not necessary causal nexus. Savvy academics use this to their advantage. As her internal clock runs down, she writes, El tiempo encarnado es eterno. Time as embodied in the everlasting is sufficient to console us. Dreams like foreign armies carve a cliched path to the story cloud. Once in a while, Stein manages to escape. Your perfect skin hides many wounds, says the fortune cookie. She admits that her social mask is a poor measure of her soul's breath. No one said I was wonderful today, Stein cries. Now that love is gone, she goes to her doom singing, C'est toi, c'est moi. But Adrian Ballou drives up in a Bentley and plays Mr. Musichead and Twang Bar King. He doesn't have to drive. His sounds take her to heaven even without the weed. That's it.
I guess that was existential.
Yep.
And I suppose we'll all be immortalized like Gertrude.
Absolutely.
At least we'll have a AI doppelganger. We've heard poems about heaven. Now we know what we're going to continue as. Oh, well, unmute yourselves and say hey, say hi. Thank you so much to Dayle and Ruby. What wonderful readings. And thank you to all our open mic participants. It's been a wild ride. Unmute.
These
Lovely
meetings always
see you
inspire
all.
me to want to write more
Yes.
and hear different styles.
Mhm.
I try not to miss any.
Yeah.
Thank
So
you.
much fun.
Thank
Now
you
we
so
all
much.
have to go try to make a cake, bake a cake. I want your blueberry cake, Dale. Sounds,
I'm happy to share the recipe.
oh no, the recipe won't do it. I have to have it. I have to have yours.
Thank you, Ruby, and thank you, Dale. That was amazing. It was really nice.
Really
Oh,
enjoyed
thank
it.
you.
It's a lovely group.
Thank you, Joyce.
Good to be
Yeah.
here and hear people.
Happy
Yeah, I just,
Valentine's Day, everybody.
oh yes, Valentine's Day's tomorrow.
Also Ash Wednesday.
Ah, interesting.
Mm.
Thank you, Dale.
I was just amazed that both Ruby and Dale's poems made me see things that I've never seen. I don't know that I've ever seen a salmonberry, but I still got an image in my head that were
Oh,
so it just amazing.
Peter,
Hopefully
you
I'll be able to
you have
visit
to come out
sometime.
to our coast. Yes. You're on the
Yes.
right side of the country. I'll invite
Yeah,
you to a reading, in-person
Put,
reading.
put Wahkiakum County on your to travel list.
Okay.
Sounds good. Sounds really good.
Yep.
Night, everybody.
Good night.
Good
Good
night.
night.
Thank
Great
you.
to see everyone. Take
Bye.
care.
Thank you. Bye-bye.
They- Millie the Big.